Coming up on Relatables.
The hardest thing about love is taking accountability that your loving methods might not always be healthy.
And it's so difficult to accept that once you've had that thought.
Jake and Artie, the Relatables party.
The Relatables podcast is hosted by myself, Oddy Clark, a.k.a.
Mummy,
and my partner in crime, Mr. Jake Craig.
a.k.a. Daddy.
Thought I'd get you there, said it quickly. All right, Jake, I want to know if you agree with what I'm about to say.
Yes.
When you start to see someone, there is a emotional connection that starts to happen, the thing that we call love.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm going to do my best to describe the process of how a male's brain thinks when he starts to fall in love.
Okay.
And I want to know if you agree that's how you sort of fell in love too.
All right.
Does that make sense?
Should we preface that this episode is like a deep one?
Love is in the
And
air.
like about love?
Yeah.
Yeah.
This is an episode about love.
Yes.
Because we love love.
Yes.
So, what a male brain thinks about when he starts to fall in love. So all these thoughts go on through our head and the partner kind of has no idea.
Right.
It's leading up to it. So, firstly, we just start to feel on top of the world.
Fair.
Invincible.
Yep.
Invincible. And we start to constantly think about her and feel this experience that's like sort of euphoric.
Yep.
So that's pretty granted. Most people would probably assume that.
Yeah,
when you start
yeah,
to fall in love.
That happens to both genders.
But this is where it gets. I want to know if you agree. So,
Okay.
for me, I next start to feel very vulnerable. And you can either take this two ways. You let the vulnerability win and you start to trust your partner and open up with your emotions. Or you let doubt win and you put all your walls up because you're not ready. And then, not being crude, you think of any excuse, the most minute little thing not to like her because you're scared of commitment and like love.
Shit. Look, I can't argue with that.
I'll keep going and tell me what you think of the end.
Yeah, like I can't say I'd argue with that.
And if you let that vulnerability stage win, you then go on to the daydreaming planning stage. You think about what your life's going to be like together with each other.
Okay.
And then this next stage is where the partner comes in. If I get through all these stages of love, I then start to open up to my partner emotionally and start to connect deeper than ever before and open up about my emotions and experiences. And I might even let her meet my dog.
How lucky. How lucky for her to meet your dog. And is this like, did you just think of that?
That's how I fall in love.
That's how you fall in love.
And I wanted to know if that's how you fall in love, and do you reckon that can be a bit of a depiction for all men?
I don't actually, like, I wouldn't say I have a thought process of how I fall in love. I mean, what you said there, I mean, to be honest with you, I would assume is how everyone falls in love. To be honest, like, because like when you meet someone that you really like, for me at least, you're quite infatuated with them.
Yeah.
When infatuation comes to mind, you know, like you really are. You're infatuated with them. You just always want to hang out with them. And I always, like, in that moment, sort of, I guess, honeymoonish phase, you think like, oh, I could fall in love with this person. I'm just trying to think, like, because I can't say I know how, because so what was your events was, get them up again. What was your events?
A euphoric feeling at the start, you're feeling on top of the world.
Definitely, yeah.
And then the next stage is vulnerability. And I either choose to be vulnerable and open up my heart to that person.
Yep.
Or I reckon up until I was 22, 23, I never let vulnerability win.
Right.
Because I reckon, like, nothing against the partner. I think it was all on me for the fact that I didn't fall in love with anyone prior to my partner.
Yeah.
Is because I was scared of what opening up my emotions meant. And I wasn't ready because I thought someone might step on them.
Fair.
And I reckon I don't know what made me vulnerable and open up, but it just happened. And then the other stage is like, once I get vulnerable, you start to daydream and plan shit like fucking white picket fence. And then the last stage is like, you commit to your emotions and you share those with that person. And then that's when the partner comes in.
Yeah.
Because I've always found it interesting, like when you go on a date or you start seeing a partner or anything like that, like I would love to know the takeaway of their thinking process straight after the date. And I was trying to give an insight for how men think after the first couple of dates.
I would say I have, not in an unhealthy way, I would, if a first date goes well, I will have like a little daydreamy moments then, right after a first date if it goes well. Like I don't have that same order of like
Order of operations.
Yeah, I would say more of like I'll have a little, like, nothing embarrassing, but like you just have little daydreaming moments with them of like, I guess what a relationship would be like, and just getting like, just infatuated with that person. But I remember the moment that I like realized that I was in love, and before that, I don't even know how to explain it. Like I can't believe like you have like this. I feel like I just don't even have like a series of operations.
It just happened.
Like I can't say I ever, like, there's times where maybe there was a moment in time where I could open up about something deep and I chose not to yet because I wasn't ready. And then maybe a few weeks later I was ready. So it's like, oh, actually, like on that topic, like this is like, it's like I trust you enough to know this now type of thing. But I don't think doing that like would make me, like, I don't think that needs to be done before anything else, if that makes sense.
You've never really had an order.
Nah, like I've never had an order where I like, because I've had 3 girlfriends now. Like I've never had like with all 3 of them, I don't think there's nothing in my mind where I'm like, oh, there's an order to this. Like this, like I know who I am in a way of like how I fall in love.
Do you reckon the fact you've had more partners is because there sort of hasn't been an order of operations and you just let things happen like willy-nilly? It's not saying that's a bad thing, but like my head works in a more logical way and I chose not to let, I reckon I could have had 3 girlfriends, not being cocky, like I could have had 3 girlfriends if I wanted.
Oh, yeah, definitely.
And do you reckon I didn't have them because of my order of operations and like I never let them in because I have this little logical thinking process, whereas you on the other hand work is just like free flowing and what happens happens?
God.
So maybe that takes my
question.
like,
but also like if you with anyone in the, in prior to your girlfriend, so there's also an argument to say that if you really liked them, like maybe you wouldn't have thought like that. So maybe the reason that you were thinking like that, like how you just said you don't know why it worked out with your girlfriend. I mean, worked out because you actually just really liked her. Like the other ones you may have just not really liked that much.
True.
True. Because like there's no particular reason as to why it worked out with your girlfriend other than the fact that she's just the one you felt most comfortable with. Like, unless it is a thing of like you matured enough to realize what you were doing in the past. I don't know.
I think there became a stage in my life that I unconsciously did that made myself ready to open up to someone else and let someone else's emotions in. Maybe when I was talking to other people in the past, I never felt truly ready to have someone else's emotions like in my life.
Yeah.
I didn't think I had the mental capacity to deal with my emotions and someone else's properly without hurting one another.
Yeah, fair. That's so interesting.
And
because
I don't know. Maybe I'm making logic out of something that isn't logical because love definitely isn't logical.
Nah.
But I was just trying to like gauge how a guy's brain works and help people think. Because a lot of the times these takeaways on dates is like, I wonder if he liked me. And like we've said before, that men fall in love or like someone more when they're apart. And these are sort of the thoughts going on in my head when we're apart. Is just like, do I want to be vulnerable with her? Do I want to open myself up more? And I'm also fucking daydreaming about her.
You know what I like actually genuinely think is that to you, Like, there's probably plenty of men out there that would hear what you said and go like, oh no, that's how I do it too. But also, I think that I'll go into something pretty shortly, but love to every individual, true love, like, can't really be studied.
No.
In a sense, because it's every single individual, it's different. Like, you know, like, I don't know how you feel about your girlfriend and you don't know how I feel about mine. And then, like, I don't know, we don't know how our parents feel about each other. Like, true love to them might be not as strong as what we think true love should be. Like, that type of thing, you know?
I've always wanted to know if people feel what I feel.
Yeah.
Or if people feel more than what I feel or less. I was like, oh, it's people who as lucky as me.
Yeah. Like, he was like, we feel really lucky, but compared to someone else, like, there's another couple that could be like, maybe it's like a way more intense love. And then if you were to feel that, you'd be like, well, mine's not like that. Like, I thought it was like as strong as it could get.
Yeah.
That's why I think like, they can't really study it. But I think that what you're saying is definitely like an individual thing. God, there's got to be so many people that relate to that. But I don't reckon I relate to it
at all.
Like, I don't know. Like, I relate to the part where you are like, you're infatuated and like you just feel really good at the start, because I think that just happens with like all of them.
Yeah.
But I don't know like what I would say I necessarily look for. Like, I personally would say I kind of, after a first date, feel like I have enough information. Obviously I don't. Like, you find out way more.
Yeah.
But like, I have this thing where it's like, because like I've been on dates where right after it, I'm like, maybe even an hour in or 5 minutes in,
Yeah.
I'm like, oh, and like this is not happening again.
Yeah. Yeah.
And then, you know, I went on a first date with my girlfriend, and I was like, when's our second date? And it was like the week after, not even, or something like that. I think I went and saw her like 2 days later. Actually, to be fair, I think I went and saw her like 2 days later.
I've always wondered, like, I see some of our friends love in so many different ways, and they also show it in different ways. And it's also like, maybe who am I to judge? Like, not saying I'm judging badly, but I'm still judging them. I'm judging the way they...
I mean, you judge everyone about everything. Like, it can be good or bad.
Yeah, I'm judging the way they love and they show affection and how fast they say I love you and stuff.
Yeah.
And like, it's really like, maybe your theory, just like, it's down to feeling and sense, and there is no logic behind it.
Yeah, like, I don't think about it, actually. Here you go. Here's what it is you think about it.
Yeah, I do think about it.
You think about it. Like, you have a thought process. Like, I don't think about it. I solely go off feeling, and then get to a point where I maybe have a realization of like, oh yes, definitely want to ask her to be my girlfriend. And then, oh yes, oh, I do love her. Like, mine is a moment in my head. Like, I don't think I'll ever forget it. I was in an Uber.
Do you do you ever try to describe the feeling of how your girlfriend you're in love with makes you feel?
Nah.
Really?
Nah,
I do all the time.
Nah, I've never described
I try
that.
to voice it into words.
Like, I say, like, I feel happy. Like, I feel happy, but I wouldn't say it. No, I don't think I've ever described.
My recent one was, it's unfathomable how much I love you.
Unfathomable.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I always try and put it in the words. It's funny, like, finding out even, like, I think that's normal for me to, like, try and put into words, like, the feelings that she makes me feel, or your partner makes you feel. And yours is more like, we just feel it, obviously. Like, it's just there.
We just feel it. Like, I'm trying to think, like, I would say my absolute favorite thing in the whole world is, for some reason, both will get, like, not every night, but it's like majority maybe, but like, it's I guess you call it the zoomies.
Yeah.
Like, right before we go to bed, for some reason, like, videos are funnier.
Yeah.
Like, everything's just funnier.
Yeah.
And I just think that I just
high.
Yeah, like I don't know, like, I just think Beth is like super funny, and so I just, like, sometimes then I would never say I can describe a feeling, but I will, like, think in the moment maybe how fun it is. I don't know. Like, if I was to describe love, or like my love, I think I would almost want to use the word like safe, or like contempt. Like, content?
Content.
Yeah. Isn't contempt like like I don't like you.
I've done it.
Like I have contempt
I think
towards you.
I've done that before.
Yeah, I feel like I think I need the word content.
But that's interesting. So
Yeah.
yours is more like the experiences of being with the person, whereas mine is more figuring out what those experiences are making me feel and telling them.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. I don't think deeply about it.
Yeah, which is very interesting.
Yeah, like
I do think
sometimes-
I'm niche.
Yeah, like sometimes I will randomly maybe I'll get this wave of missing Beth, and I'll just text her and just say like I love you, but I just can't say I've ever once thought, how do I describe this, or what was my process of falling in love?
Interesting.
One thing I did in the past actually was thinking, we've spoken about this before, was thinking that my partner would be perfect for me.
Yeah,
My girlfriend would be
we've
perfect
talked
for me.
about that. There's no perfect person for anyone.
Yeah, that was one thing I used to think in the past a lot actually, like when
I thought that as well, actually. Like, we are perfect for each other.
Yeah.
Something about being young and delusional.
And you have a fight about something, and I would have these thoughts like, well, if we have this big of a different opinion on this particular thing, like maybe we're not perfect for each other. And so then in turn, thinking that also, I guess, makes you, what's the word? Contempt, I guess, towards the fucking person you're currently with.
I think that's relatable where, like, especially in younger relationships, you build up this false pretense of this person in your head. And one of those false things is that you're perfect for each other.
Yeah.
And you also, like, the false thing of she's perfect, she can't do no wrong. And then when she does do wrong, or he, for anyone listening,
Yeah.
you're like, oh, nah, like, they're still perfect.
Dude, fuck. Funny you say that. We may as well go into what I wanted to talk about. All right. We had someone in the Facebook group ask what our opinions on the difference between limerence and love is.
I purposely didn't look up limerence.
Do you want me to tell you before I read that post? Didn't know limerence was a word.
Neither did I.
Didn't
I
know
didn't. I didn't look up because you said you'll bring it.
Oh, so you don't know what limerence is?
I did it. I didn't look up on purpose.
What you just said
Yeah.
before is like
Limerence.
some part of limerence.
Okay.
Some part. Like it's a tricky thing, but some part of it, right? So, okay. I watched like a video, did all these notes. I watched like a couple videos, took notes on one. Okay. Basically, let's go into limerence.
Okay.
So, introduction. Limerence is often mistaken for true love. And it's an intense emotional state. And it's characterized by like obsession, longing for the person.
Yeah.
Right. And so you can distinguish it from like various types of loves, blah, blah, blah. There's like lots of different types of love. And in this video I watched, basically this doctor named a whole bunch of different types of love. Limerence, it is a type of love.
Yeah.
Right. And limerence is in there. And then he does go on to say like the one that can't be studied is true love. Like genuinely it cannot be studied because it's different to every individual. So it cannot be studied.
Yeah, it's never the same.
So we will, first of all, I've got a little thing here, defining limerence.
Yes.
Coined by Dr. Dorothy Tenov in the 1970s. So really not that long ago.
Not
Limerence is an intense, obsessive form of love, marked by a strong desire for reciprocation from the loved one.
Ooh, okay.
So you're infatuated by this person, but like you need them to feel the same back.
You're asking it as much as you're giving it.
It involves emotional highs and lows, intense daydreaming, and a tendency to overlook the other person's flaws, often leading to jealousy and hypervigilance. The characteristics of limerence. One is an intense longing. And so it's the desire. So like just 85%, he said the number is, 85% of your waking time is spent just like thinking about them and longing for them. And then there's number two is emotional roller coaster, and the feelings fluctuate dramatically based on the perceived signals and signs from the loved one. So your whole mood is based off of theirs.
Yeah.
Right?
So this limerence is a bit toxic.
Oh, look, limerence is bad.
Yeah, right,
limerence is very bad.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. See, I didn't know.
See, sorry, I should have said that at the start because you didn't know. But no, I didn't know either. But limerence is, it's bad.
Okay.
Number three is sacrifices. And it's the willingness to change oneself or make significant life changes to please the loved one.
Oh, so this is also like when Someone says like, I don't like your friends, and you stop hanging out with your friends, so that's a sacrifice. Is
Yeah,
limerence.
they'll change careers. They'll change their hair. They'll change the way they dress. They'll move.
So
Yeah.
we're getting to the point that a lot of people confuse limerence with love
Definitely.
Because
People
it-
think that limerence is this.
because it's so intense. You think it's love.
It is. It's very intense. You think it's true love, and then you make all these decisions in this moment, and in this time of limerence.
Yeah.
And so this next one is based off what you said. So it's called the halo effect, and you don't see any flaw in your partner
Ooh.
whatsoever. And if someone points out a flaw, you tell them they don't understand. And if it is an obvious flaw, you really minimize it to make it easy to ignore.
Wow.
So they can do no wrong.
That's insightful too, because
Yeah.
sometimes as an outsider looking into people's relationships, you see things and you're like, oh, maybe they're not like that in the relationship because I can't see it.
Yeah.
And that person in it can't even see it at all.
It's very blinding.
Yeah. Love is blind, mate.
Yeah.
They should make a fucking Netflix series, Limerence is Blind.
Limerence, it is though.
Yeah.
Like the positive and negative aspects. So the positive, is if both individuals are single and are good for each other, whereas like they actually are like a couple that would match up despite limerence, if you know what I mean. If they are good for each other, limerence can lead to a very fulfilling relationship. Like it can end up like it'll peter out. Like, and so based off of that one, right? I had the question this whole time. I was questioning myself while watching this video of like, limerence just kind of sounds like the honeymoon.
It does a
stage.
little bit, yeah.
And so, basically, the way I gathered it, I don't know if I'm 100% correct, but I think what it is like limerence would be limerence, right? When you're in the honeymoon stage, but then once the honeymoon stage dies out, you like fucking hate each other. Whereas limerence is a good thing. Honeymoon phase is a really good thing.
Phases out.
When you phase out and you get an even stronger connection.
It forms into love.
Yes. So I do think like a lot of these things are similar to the honeymoon phase.
Interesting.
But when you are good for each other, it's good.
Well, I saw an interesting thing was it's not important how love feels when it starts, it's how it evolves.
Yeah.
That's what is important.
Fuck yeah. The negative is if one or both individuals are in an existing relationship, obviously, or if one is not good for the other, limerence can cause emotional turmoil and lead to destructive decisions. Because the person that's in limerence, let's say, and then because like I don't think both people have to be in limerence for it to be a thing. Like you can be
One
in
person
limerence
can,
and
yeah.
then just one person isn't. And then let's say the person that isn't in limerence isn't actually a good match for the person in limerence. The person in limerence will do anything for them. Yeah. So they will make very destructive decisions.
That's relatable, eh?
And things like that.
yeah.
The inevitable end. Limerence is temporary. Never, ever, ever can it last forever.
Oh, that was going to be one of my questions.
Once the intense feelings fade, individuals may regret decisions made during that state, such as leaving a committed partner. But it can last anywhere from 3 months to 48 months.
48, fuck, 2 years.
But it
Wait,
will
is that 2 years? 4 years. That's 4 years.
But it will 100% always end. But
It does end. Well, you often hear people like they just have some switch in their brain once, like, oh, I actually realized I didn't really like them. And I think that's because they're in limerence and they're blinded by the intensity of it.
We actually have a in-person story told to us. Won't say who it was.
Yeah.
All right.
Wild.
But we were somewhere with someone who's older than us and was married to a person. And she said that when COVID hit is the first time that they spent more than 2 weeks together because they both worked in different areas. Like they were married and everything and they lived together, but like spent a lot of time apart, and it worked out great up until COVID. And they spent all this time together and they realized, oh, I don't even like you.
Yeah.
Isn't that crazy?
Limerence.
Fucking crazy.
Funny you brought that all up, actually. Is that it?
No, I got a little conclusion.
Okay, sorry. Yeah.
Okay, limerence can feel overwhelming and blissful,
Yeah.
but it is crucial to recognize its transient nature. Decisions based solely on this intense emotional state can lead to long-term consequences that affect not only personal happiness, but relationships with others, including children and ex-partners. Awareness and logical evaluation of one's feelings can help individuals navigate these tumultuous emotions more effectively. Tumultuous was his word, not mine.
Yeah, I bet.
The doctor's word. The key takeaways is limerence is not true love. It's an obsessive state. Idealization and blindness to flaws, the emotional highs and lows, and you need to seek balance. The definitions, we already know. I had a lot of definitions.
The hardest thing about love is taking accountability that your loving methods might not always be healthy.
And it's so difficult to accept that once you've had that thought.
It's hard to see that, and it's also hard to see that your partner's loving methods might not be healthy.
Yeah. So I actually went and looked up another video, and I looked up a video on trying to learn to recognize limerence.
Yeah.
Because, to be honest with you, dude, I think if you think about it, you know, the two relationships prior to Beth that didn't work out, I don't know if they 100% were limerence, but like, you know, it kinda, when I think about it. Like, I was like infatuated with these people, and I wouldn't say it was as intense, but I mean, it didn't work out. Like, it faded.
Well, we all have those friends too that like drop everything as soon as they get a partner. And like, I've often thought like, oh, that's nice, they're in love. But sometimes, and now I've seen some of those relationships peter out and they didn't work. That's more like that fucking obsession is more like, that's not love, that's limerence.
Yeah.
Like they drop everything because it's like this fucking obsession of unhealthiness.
It's weird, Yeah. So this video I looked up, a girl, she has this big page on YouTube and she was explaining it and she talks about limerence a lot. But I've watched a video and she said that like limerence and the honeymoon phase, they kind of have differences, right? So if you maybe are in the early starts of like an early part of a relationship, or like you have a big crush on someone, I don't know. Let's just say if for some reason the person that you really are, like you think you're in love with, if they could somehow open your brain and see the thoughts that you have about them, the fantasies, the stuff like that, like, would it just be kind of like a simple little fantasy, like, oh, you know, like I thought about kissing her, or I thought about, stuff like that, taking her on a date, and like, would you be all that embarrassed, or would it be a bit kind of more flattering towards them? That's not limerence. That's like normal ways of thinking, because everyone has little fantasies. And if you were to think like, oh, if they could open up my brain and have a look, like I would be so embarrassed.
Ooh, embarrassed.
Like that would be that's
They can't know my
crazy.
thoughts.
Yeah, apparently that's one of the ways to try and start to like recognize that you're in it.
Yeah.
Like, yeah. So I don't know, like, but obviously when you're in it as well, you don't like, you know.
That's funny. Like, so if you open up your thoughts, is anyone in a relationship right now or been in a relationship and someone else saw your thoughts, would you be ashamed about them?
Yeah.
That's interesting.
And so, yeah, because I was thinking like, well, was the start of my relationship all limerence? Like I was questioning it. I was like, bro, like I didn't move. And I was like, I was settling myself down. I was like, look, okay, I didn't move places. I didn't change jobs. Stayed to who I am. Like, I'm still Jake.
Yeah.
Like, Oddie never said, Jake, you're changing. Like, if anyone's going to do it, it's going to be him.
Yeah.
Like, Joanna didn't say, like, I'm good.
Yeah.
And, like, and when I watched that, I was like, yeah, to be fair, like, you know, even because, like, limerence can last so long, like, even, you know, a year in, if you were to say,
well, let's just test it right now. Let's open up your brain. Think about your thoughts of your girlfriend. All of the fantasies, everything.
Yes.
Now I get to see him.
Yes.
Are you embarrassed? Are you humiliated?
I am bowing down on my knees, worshipping her. I'm kidding. No, any fantasy I've ever had, like, probably just make you horny. Well, not you. I mean me. Sorry. I mean me. I'm just kidding.
Dirty dog.
I had to do it. No, I wouldn't. I wouldn't be embarrassed. If you were to open up my brain and look at him, no, I wouldn't be embarrassed. No.
Interesting. Well, it's talking a lot about healthy and unhealthy love.
Yeah.
Which I find is very interesting because we're never really taught how to love.
Oi.
Which I think is wild. Humanity has this weird instinctual thing of we'll just figure it out.
Yeah.
Like we get in a relationship with all these people's emotions. We're like, oh, we'll figure it out. We have a kid with no fucking training and we're like, oh, fuck it. We'll figure it out. And it's wild to me that we fall in love and think, oh, we'll figure it out. And 100% of the time, either you hurt yourself or you hurt someone in a lifetime.
Fuck.
Which I think is wild that, I don't know, so we talk about schooling systems all the time, and I really think we should talk about love in there. At least have conversations about, like, why am I learning about fucking Pythagoras theorem when I can be learning how to love my partner better?
I was going to say, like, why was I learning how to sew when I could have been being taught how to run a family?
Yeah.
Like, because like running a family is a thing.
Yes.
Why was I over here learning how to sew a fucking pencil case?
And in the world, looking at everything that goes on, there's no better feeling or nothing that makes two people feel more connected than love.
Is there a class on that? Like, we could have chosen that we didn't. Was there an elective where it's like,
No,
where it's like a teacher comes in and they say, all right, guys, I'm glad you've chosen this class because you're going to do life a lot better than everyone else. Men are men. They're all their own person. Women are women, and they're also all their own person. No woman is the same as another woman. No man's the same as another man. And no man is the same as another woman. Therefore, no one's going to be perfect for each other. Therefore, in a relationship, you're going to have arguments. You're going to disagree on things. All this random shit. Like, why weren't we taught that? I wasn't taught that until I fucking just figured it out.
Mate, we were busy in woodwork hitting some wood with a hammer.
Ridiculous. I wouldn't have wanted to listen, but I bet you some of it would have stayed with me.
Well, there's some mandatory classes, and like I don't see why they don't make it mandatory. And it's just like making definitely telling everyone that schooling systems are outdated, and it would make like so many more lives better because that many people were hurt and their souls are crying because they've hurt someone or they've been hurt by someone else who hasn't learned or known how to love properly. And the only like figures of love that we like can see are our parents. And a lot of people aren't blessed with healthy loving styles in their parents. They see people fucking hit each other. They see divorces. They see people with toxic limerence love.
Yep.
Now they've had kids. Like that's the only exposure you have to love, which I find is like crazy. So I actually have here a couple of loving styles. Well, they're called pillars.
Yeah.
And I've got some examples of how to identify sometimes if your loving method is potentially unhealthy.
Oh, cool. Yeah.
Or if the person loving you is doing something that's unhealthy. And I have done these in the past or say them jokingly, and I might not realize the impact they have on my relationship.
Yeah.
So the first pillar of love is intensity. So I've got a couple examples, and I'll tell you the healthy example and the unhealthy example of showing intensity.
Yep.
So the healthy example is, quote, I haven't seen you in a couple of days. I've missed you.
Yep.
Healthy, love that. Unhealthy. I haven't seen you in 5 minutes. It feels like a lifetime. What have you been doing without me?
Oof.
Yeah. And it's also dabbling in limerence a little bit.
Dabbling.
It's like, what are you doing?
Mate, that's not dabbling. That's hairs, balls deep.
Yeah. And that's so true. It's just like, how have you been functioning without me? And I feel like a lot of people do that. Like, you should be fucking calling me every fight. You should reply as soon as I fucking message you, all right?
Oh, you know what I did today? Actually, I texted Beth this morning saying good morning. She said good morning back. I said, how'd you sleep? How was Pilates? She left me on red. And then an hour later, she posted an Instagram story, and it was a meme. And it was a Little Miss thing. It was like Little Miss takes her dog everywhere. And I replied. And I was like, Little Miss doesn't reply to her boyfriend's text. And then she texted me straight away. And I ended up talking to her on the phone. And she did that thing. And it's so annoying that this is the thing. Like, I didn't actually give a fuck. I
joke about the exact same thing.
I didn't think she was mad at me or any. I didn't give a shit because I knew she was at work. But, because it happens to me all the time. And I hate it trying to use it as an excuse, but I'm not lying, is you go on the text and you see it. But then, like, a notification comes up somewhere else, and you're like, oh, well, I'll reply to that quick right now. I'll come back to this. And then you don't come back to it because, like, brains are rotten.
Yeah. Exactly.
I know, it's like, fuck.
That's relatable. Everyone does that.
I know, yeah.
And the second pillar is isolation. So the healthy method is, so a friend asks you, do you want to hang out later? And you say, hey, sorry, I've been booked up with my boyfriend today. Maybe another time. Okay. That's healthy.
Yeah.
Unhealthy method is friend says, hey, do you want to hang out? And you say, sorry, it's boyfriend Monday fun day. And then they go, what about tomorrow? Like, sorry, boyfriend Tuesday snooze day. What about Wednesday? And you're like, oh no, Wednesday we fucking have sex. Like, and we all know those people who like everything is always revolving around their partner.
Yeah.
I use boyfriend as an example, but it can be vice versa.
Yeah. I've been like that.
Yeah.
I've been in a relationship like that.
And you're just like, well, as a friend, hearing that also hurts your soul a little bit, but then seeing it and you're like, well, this person's just fucking taking all their attention.
Yeah, no, I've been in one like that where like I didn't care if they went and hung out with friends, but she really, really, really made me feel shit about hanging out with friends.
Yeah,
And so I never did.
isolation kicks in when you start to like make the other person feel bad for hanging out with friends, family, and they plant doubt in all your previous partners, relationships, and friends and family. As soon as you start to dating, like, are you sure they're valuable to being your friend?
Yeah.
They place these little seeds of doubt in your mind.
Now I isolate from friends because I'm busy, and Beth's like, "Have you seen your friends lately? Are you going to see your friends?" I went for dinner with friends the other night. She was like,
Healthy, yeah, that's
she was
healthy.
like, "How was it? How was it?" I was like, "Fuck off."
Once in a year, I'm good. The next pillar is extreme jealousy. So every relationship, you're going to feel jealousy. It's how you deal with it. And I think that's one of the most important pillars. So a healthy way of dealing with jealousy is you get followed on Instagram. Your partner gets followed on Instagram, sorry. And then you say, oh, yeah, it just happens.
You can't control who follows them.
Yeah, but a lot of the time, the unhealthy method is some random follows them on Instagram and the partner's like, who's that? How do you know them? When did they follow you? And I reckon a lot of people do that. Yeah, so like they're a little bit different because we get fucking followed a bit. But like a normal person, if a boy got followed, like, oh, it's like we got followed, and then she's like, oh, who's this? Who's that? What's this? How do you know him? Blah, 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 blah.
What?
It's like toxic, extreme jealousy.
But like, what if they didn't follow them back?
Yeah, exactly. But that's an example where a lot of relationships are like that.
Fucking give me followers. I want attention.
Yeah. And the fourth pillar is probably a very toxic one, is belittling. So
belittling. Yep.
Yes. So the healthy method is him. Do you want to hang out later? Her. I have to study. Him. All good. Unhealthy method is him. I want to hang out later. Her. I got to study. Him. No, there's no point. Like, you're not going to get any smarter. Let's just hang out. Yeah.
Study?
Yeah,
Why?
yeah.
You're smart enough.
Yeah.
You're not going to get any smarter.
Yeah. Like that.
Oh.
And I feel like a lot of dudes.
It's almost a compliment.
A lot of dudes do that, and it's so toxic. And the last pillar is volatility. So the healthy way is him is saying, if we broke up, I'd be really sad. And I feel like every person knows someone who said this next one, and it's actually really important and serious. The unhealthy method is, I'd be so depressed if we broke up, I would throw myself off something, or I wouldn't be able to live without you.
Yeah.
And I feel like a lot of people say that willy-nilly and don't really realize the magnitude of the words they're saying. Like, my life, I wouldn't be able to live without you.
See, that's just putting so much pressure on a person.
You can't ever say that to someone else.
Yeah, like, you can't ever leave me because that'll be the end for me. Like, what?
Yeah. And I know plenty of people whose partners have said that. And like, that just puts the other person in a position like, well, I've got to stay here because I want you to live. But I can't stay here because I love you. I'm here now out of respect.
Out of feeling like a duty or something?
Yeah, like
I
it's
feel
a
like
duty.
It's my job now.
So like, it's just that's the most extreme toxic way of loving. And just definitely if you're in that position, like, especially if you're in that last position, like a lot of the time, like we get dilemmas and people give friends advice and it's just like, well, just break up with him. But if you're in that extreme situation where that's the case, that's when you need to like really seek like professional help of how to get out of the situation safely.
Yeah.
Because a lot of the time, like we say on it, like it's very hard for us to put ourselves in the position like, just break up.
Yeah.
But sometimes it's not that simple if you're in any of these unhealthy limerence even and loving methods. You really need to get an appropriate strategy to how to leave safely for both partners.
In a situation like that, 100%, there needs to be a proper way to do it. Fuck yeah, no, that's hard. Even like I don't know if this would be the same. So that last one was called volatility.
Yeah.
What if even someone was to say like, so the healthy version is if we broke up, and then I'd be pretty devoed, but you know, I like being alone.
Yeah.
I think I'd eventually get over it. You know, I want you to be happy, go live our lives. What if someone was to say, not as extreme as the first example, but they were like, if we broke up, I would never date again. It would ruin me so bad that I would never date again. Is that the similar? That's like a similar. It's like putting some sort of responsibility on the person that is potentially thinking of breaking up with you.
If I heard that though, I wouldn't have the same.
I would still just be like, get over it.
I wouldn't have the same response as I couldn't live anymore.
Exactly. No, nowhere near. No.
Yeah, if you
True,
said,
it's a good point.
If I couldn't date anyone else, I'd be like, well, that's not my problem, and I know you will.
Yeah,
but like
you'll get over
but the other one, the other one is my problem.
The other one feels like a responsibility. The one I say is kind of like, you'll get over it.
Yeah,
you'll be fine.
And we sort of shined a light on love being very scary and complicated, but I didn't want to take away from the fact that love is the one thing I think we need to do more in the world.
I think it'll save us.
I think it will save us too, because there's nothing more pure about love, and life and other people really try to take away the beat of your heart and love and the shining sun that comes out of your heart, and life just begins to make your love get dark and not be there anymore. And I don't know, I just also wanted to like say anyone who's a big lover and holds their heart on their sleeve and opens up to people, like we need more people like that.
Yeah.
And the things they do out of love is beautiful. And yeah, I just think we need it more.
100%. Alrighty, guys. Thank you so much for that. It's quite a serious episode. It's quite deep.
Yeah.
Love episode.
It was.
And we'll finish it with a page from our favorite book, 109 Things to Say to Shatter the Male Ego, How to Piss Men Off.
So contradictory of what we were just talking about.
Quote, maybe you'll feel differently about that when you're older.
Mm-hmm.
That would ruin me, I'm not going to lie.
Maybe, yeah, it's like second guessing my decisions.
And it says, some of the best things to piss men off are really just verbal reverse cards like in Uno. This line has always been a favorite among smug professors and conservative uncles, trying to stamp out any mindset that seems borderline progressive. To pull it on them before they can pull it on you is the metaphysical equivalent of a sucker punch.
And while we're on, that was it?
Yeah.
Pissing men off. I'll leave it on. One thing that pisses me off about men, was a lot of things, but just one thing in particular, is if any man has ever made you second guess whether or not you want to love again because they hurt you so much, fuck men.
Fuck men.
Because anyone listening, you're the fucking love that we need.
100%.
And don't ever stop loving.
100%. I just read the next one for next week, for Monday.
Yeah.
And it's really good.
Really?
It's really good.
Let's go.
See you guys.
We love you. Bye.